Now let's continue with A Journey to the West. Today's setting is New York. Our topic for today is I served Rinpoche as his driver. Originally, I could not find any recorded files of His Holiness's teachings in New York. As I mentioned before, I used to keep quite a collection, including invitation letters and many other items. There were cassettes, handwritten notes, and various other materials. There were so many. But later, after moving around several times, there was a period where, for some reason I can't recall, I felt a strong sense of renunciation. I cleared out all the books in my house. I might have gotten rid of some of those materials then. Fortunately, later on, the rough diaries from that time were eventually preserved. But as for the materials from this trip, even though we tried various ways, we couldn't find any primary records. The records for New York and Boston were particularly difficult to find. However, fortunately, there was a man named Yvon Choseblanche. He is the one in the photo shown below. He was the one driving for us back then. He was just a young man at the time. Last year, when I saw his photo and video, I was quite taken aback. He was probably shocked to see me too. He unofficially recorded several of His Holiness's teachings. He recorded quite a bit. He seems to have 20 hours of recordings from Boston. He carried a black recorder and recorded every day. Sometimes people like him preserved all those teachings on tapes. Since so much time has passed, most of them are no longer clear. Most are unusable. Only one was clear enough, the one titled Talking About Guru Rinpoche. I think the Dharma protectors of Guru Rinpoche must have preserved it. Otherwise, how else could it have been saved by him? While extending our sincere gratitude to Yvon, we also interviewed him. We sent someone to conduct the interview. When His Holiness was mentioned, he got very emotional and tears sprang from his eyes. This is what he told us. In a moment we have a short video that we can watch. He is still... Should we watch it now or later? What do you think? Let's take a look now. Here is the video of Yvon. Also, regarding the interviews, the content he shared later was somewhat limited. It was hard to include in the book. He said Rinpoche's presence was like a mountain and things like that. There were others too, but for now I need to take a short break. Please watch this for a minute or two. There are subtitles below.
It was like receiving from Manjushri himself. Very fresh terma that had been brought forth by Khenpo Funsok at Wutashen Mountain a few years before. And short after that, I got a picture when I went to Boston for the subsequent visit of teaching he gave. I bought a picture taken by one of his Chinese students while he was receiving the Manjushri Terma of like a figure of Guru Rinpoche in the sky. The perfectly blue sky. It's a cloud, but it's perfect. It was not Manjushri, but perfect, like it was definitely was Guru Rinpoche. And anyway.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there another one? No.
Hawaii has a lot of experience with Buddhism. My name is Andy, asking about Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche. He came to Boulder in 1993, and he was honored by Chogyam Trungpa's students. And the feeling for me was his feeling like a mountain. He was very strong and steady.
Because the content was a bit brief, it couldn't all be detailed in the book. Simply saying he was like a mountain wasn't enough. When His Holiness came to New York, he stayed at 222 Bowery Street. That's what Yvon just mentioned. Now, you need to shift your mindset. It was a place where many artists gathered. It seems there was an Australian or Italian artist there who passed away in 2019. They were quite famous at the time. They had hosted many great masters. That person didn't pass away until 2019. That entire week I was mostly designated to drive His Holiness and his entourage. He was very kind to us during that period. When we arrived at the airport, he and another person, was it an Indian poet or something? There was an Indian man who also drove. The two of them went to the airport to pick us up. Usually, after dropping off His Holiness and the others, I had to park the car first and then rush back to the venue. That was his routine. Having His Holiness in New York was a once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity, so I brought my tape recorder. I'm very grateful to him. We should always carry one. But regarding our own videos, we had a small camcorder and a recorder, but the tapes from the recorder couldn't be salvaged later, and so I recorded His Holiness's teachings on cassettes. Sometimes, however, parking took a long while. Sometimes there was nowhere to park, so the recordings are incomplete. This was the case with the teaching talking about Guru Rinpoche below. He was busy parking at the beginning. Also, because it was an ambient recording, the sound quality is not ideal. There is some background noise. Indeed, I listened to every single one last year, but later the others were simply unusable. Moreover, it was an ambient recording, not a direct internal recording. So there was nothing we could do. He shared these thoughts himself. He said that during the empowerment, it felt like Manjushri was personally giving the empowerment. The video just now also mentioned this. This must be because it had not been very long since Rinpoche revealed this terma. Later, when I went to Boston, I got a photo of His Holiness at Mount Wutai during the time when he revealed this terma. Regarding this photo, he has one now, but it didn't seem to be from that specific time, so I wasn't entirely sure about it. That is why I didn't include it in the book. He has an old black and white photo, but it might not necessarily be the one. It's just what others told him. Regardless, he received the blessings. You can feel that too, but it wasn't really featured in the book. I only put credible information in the book. If it's not highly reliable or just a maybe, then I would not include those materials or texts. This is to maintain the credibility of the book, so I was a bit cautious here. As for that photo, I'm not sure which one he remembers it being, which is why it wasn't included. For the Chetsun Nyingtig empowerment, there were 3 languages. Janet Gyatso provided the English translation, and I provided the Chinese translation. His Holiness taught in Tibetan, so there were 3 languages. One scene left a very deep impression on me. After His Holiness explained how to cultivate renunciation, he asked everyone to meditate. After a while, His Holiness remarked, "Since we have Westerners, Tibetans, and Chinese here today, I noticed that among some people keep their torso still but turn their heads, some people keep their heads still but roll their eyes, and some people keep turning their heads and rolling their eyes. This is quite terrible. Which group do you think you are in?" The whole room burst into laughter. Indeed, when I listened to the recordings of the Chetsun Dzogchen teachings, I heard His Holiness say this, but I had completely forgotten it. This man's memory is excellent. We interviewed many people, but for specific details, Yvon has a particularly good memory. What he said was very accurate. It matched exactly what His Holiness said. Perhaps it was the Tibetans who kept their torso still but turned their heads, while the Chinese kept their heads still but rolled their eyes. Westerners are more free-spirited. Later I realized His Holiness was referring to these 3 groups. When asked to meditate, the Westerners seemed very casual, eating and drinking, being quite relaxed. The terrible ones His Holiness mentioned were the Westerners, but they might not have even realized it. Everyone just started laughing. Indeed, it's in the recordings of His Holiness. My Chinese translation at that time was quite poor, so I removed it immediately. Otherwise, it would be too painful to listen to. Compared to now, my Chinese back then was truly lacking. On His Holiness's last day in New York, thinking about him leaving for Boston the next day, I cried like a baby. Look at this man. He looks so tall and strong. 2 days later, I couldn't contain how much I missed His Holiness. So he went to his boss to ask for time off. His boss must have agreed, so I jumped on my motorcycle and dashed all the way to Boston. Unfortunately, the weather was bad, and it poured the entire way. Even on his way back, it was still raining heavily. Think about it, from New York to Boston. Our next stop will be there as well. It took us 4 hours by car back then. On a motorcycle, it would take at least 5 or 6 hours. He still went. Usually people fly or drive. It looks very close on a map, but the distance to Boston is actually quite significant. I didn't care whether it was raining or not. So after class today, if you get a little wet, don't worry about it. It's fine. Sometimes when the rain was too heavy, I only stopped under shelter when it was too dangerous to drive. His story is truly interesting because when His Holiness was in New York, he stayed with us the whole time. He attended every single teaching with great sincerity. I never expected that he was recording every day. In the end, his recordings turned out to be so useful. Just think about it. The person who was simply driving for us, his recordings eventually became the basis for the wonderful article we have here. It's quite remarkable. It must be the blessings of the Dharma protectors or something. As I mentioned earlier, he said that on his way back, this might not be included in this part, it rained all the way. He returned to New York after the teachings in Boston were over. He finally got back to his home in New York at 2 in the morning. In fact, he is still practicing now, very diligently. Last year, when he received a copy of the memoir, he happened to be recovering from a surgery. He hadn't fully recovered yet, but when he got the book, he simply couldn't believe it. He found it incredible and was filled with joy. Later, he was so happy that he requested many copies to give to others. This person's faith remains rock solid even after 30 years. It was the same back then. Perhaps he's not just an ordinary person. He's quite impressive. Should we go and pay our respects to him? Just kidding. But you could if you wanted to. He seems to be in contact with the person who translated the 17 tantras. When he reached out to them, they started talking. Only through their conversation did it come out that he was the driver back then. That other translator is quite well known. He was a member of the organizing committee that hosted His Holiness. That is how the connection was made. He said that after arriving in Boston, fortunately, he received empowerments again from His Holiness. Others also requested teachings, and he gave the oral transmissions. Actually, you are going to laugh, he said during the interview. After I arrived in Boston, I wanted to request His Holiness to give the Dorje Drolo empowerment. I reached out to the Vajradhatu folks, the staff from Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche's organization. They said that this teaching had already been given a couple of times that week. Maybe not Dorje Drolo specifically, but empowerments had been given several times. How many of you came from New York to attend? I believe I mentioned a few. He had actually ridden his motorcycle there alone, but he said a few. Sometimes people tell white lies for the sake of the Dharma. Somehow they told His Holiness there were 25 disciples from New York. The day he gave it, His Holiness looked at the crowd and asked in a joking manner, "Who are these 25 disciples from New York?" I was too embarrassed by this misunderstanding to raise my hand, because he himself had only said a few, yet a few turned into 25. Perhaps it was the work of Guru Rinpoche's protectors, or just a way of requesting the Dharma. I don't know exactly how it happened. Regardless, it was said there were 25, and that was that. Then His Holiness gave us the empowerment. He repeatedly emphasized that we must practice and spread this Dharma. You see, regarding the wrathful Guru teachings, this was an indirect permission for us as well. Allowing people to practice the wrathful Guru is fine. It wasn't something strictly forbidden to discuss. Finally, he said, for anyone who has faith in this practice and wishes to get it, you are welcome to bring him or her to me, and I will fulfill their wish. It was as if His Holiness already knew what his motivation was. We were so moved. Later we found out that His Holiness was actually in poor health at the time. At its worst, he almost cancelled the rest of the trip. But out of his intense compassion, His Holiness truly gave everything he had to fulfill our every wish without reservation. Let's stop here for today.
Kirgana jirano chupai, chupun zolen droa droa bandangara badna asadarda bandangara badna asadarda bandangara badna asadarda